board meetings every week on TV. And if I don't see them on TV, a couple days later, I'll watch them on computer. I have yet to see an audit committee report, either in the workshop or on the diet. When was the last time anybody heard anything about waste, fraud in the schools? When you spend $100 million on a school, of course there's waste in there. You spend $64 million, there's waste in there. There's waste going on, but it's not being reported, it's not being very open about it. We need an auditor working directly for, an independent auditor, not through a committee, who works directly for the school board and actually does reports to the school board for the public to know about. Thank you.
This is, politics is very, it's political, it's not personal. But nothing was said about who those two members were. Do we know who they were? One of the parts of that question was transparency. If I'm on school board and there's two people, then I need to tell you who they are. Now, who are they? Are they Virginia Beach Education Association? Are they Virginia Beach Education Association candidates? It's 9-2, and it was said at school board the other day, there are two people that always say no about everything. What does that mean? That 9 people are always voting they're succinct in their voting record. Folks, you need new people on school board. We need people that will have these regular town meetings, and Steve is absolutely correct. I've never heard an audit report. So let's get people on school board that will be able to be transparent. Because we talk about transparency and consistency, but we never see it. So you need to elect 4 new people on school board, and they're right here today. Thank you.
I just would like to speak to something I think is important, and that is integrity. And I think that when we hire personnel in our schools, that we must express that we have confidence in them and their ability to do what we've asked them to do, that they have the integrity to do what we've asked them to do, and to do it with honor. And that's all I have to say about that.
Right? Yeah.
Beverly, oh, I'm sorry, no, Beverly is
She asked who the 2 people were. I can give you those names.
Okay.
No, we should respond. I like this.
It's Betsy Taylor and Carolyn Rye. And neither of them are up for re-election this time because Ms. Taylor is not running again. And Ms. Rye was elected in 2014.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is this. Do you support the recent vote by this school board giving the superintendent the power to make a policy decision regarding the grading structure? First, you can give a yes or no, and then I'll give you a moment to explain your answer.
No. And I had the great privilege to stand with Vicki, Eric, and Stephen at a press conference before that vote on Wednesday, where we stood before the news media and the public and expressed our concerns and opposition to this dangerous policy where the school board abdicated its responsibility and authority and delegated to the superintendent the ability to impose a grading system on the entire school system. Now, what Beverly and others are going to talk about is that it envisions a system in which teachers will collaborate in each school and each department to come up with their own individual policies. But the fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, it is the superintendent who has the unilateral authority now to impose a grading scheme, and this is a superintendent who has already been at work throughout the system imposing this so-called subject mastery system where they can't count homework and give zeros and so forth.
I guess I would say that my answer to that question is yes and no. First of all, I don't feel that it gives our superintendent ultimate power. We do have to vote on that, on the guidelines. We're actually going to be talking about the guidelines as well. What we did was we created the policy. The guidelines and the regulations are being developed by looking at the policy. So it has to follow the policy. When they do the guidelines, we will look at those guidelines and we will have input into those guidelines as well. Okay.
No, I do not agree with what they did. And Ms. Anderson is wrong. The school board has no authority to review the guidelines. All the policy says is that the superintendent will make the guidelines, then they'll go to the school leadership. There was a suggestion, it was talked about briefly on the dais, that they would add that sentence in there, that the guidelines should be submitted to the school board for their review and approval. And the school board members didn't want to do that. They gave entire control over to the superintendent. By policy, it's the superintendent's job to make grading decisions. And if you look at the regulations, well, let me go a step back. All school board members were talking about, it starts with the teachers. But if you look at the regulations, it says all school level decisions on grading must be in full alignment with the grading guidelines. So the superintendent makes the guidelines, the superintendent makes the regulations, and none of those are reviewable by the school board by what they have in their policy. Thank you. Beverly, do you want to respond?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. There you go.
As you know, the superintendent works for us, works for the school board. And so we have talked about it, we've discussed it. He is bringing the guidelines to the school board for discussion. It doesn't matter, that's what's happening. So.
When I was appointed to the Virginia State Board of Field Directors by Governor Bob McDonnell to the 2011 served 4-year term, one of the things that I was on the legislation committee, and there's a big thing with legislation, and Bill Steph can really kind of piggyback. There's a thing called mays and shalls. Looking at this grading, it says a lot of shalls in here. May is really kind of gives you some bit of room to possibly do something, but shall is a direct order. Shall is saying that you shall do this, you shall, the superintendent shall do that. While I heard shall, I said I would have voted no. Would you want your surgeon cutting on you open with the same standards that this school system is giving our students?
I'm going to say yes, that I did support the grading policy that was passed this week. I ran for a school board in 2014. And since that time, when I lost the election, it was difficult to handle. But following the election in January, I began to attend every single school board meeting. I very, very rarely, I'm there live, I'm there to hear exactly what's going on in that school board meeting. And what I heard was that teachers and department chairs will establish the guidelines for the students. That's what I'm in favor of. Students are taught by teachers. I'm a counselor who had to stand and watch and listen to a child who says, you know, I have a test today, or I didn't do my homework today because daddy left. He packed and left last night. Or our family pet had to be put down. It's hard to make a fast and hard rule for children because children are people. Teachers are the ones who should be making the decisions about the grades.
First of all, the board did not know about these grading practices that were being piloted in many schools across our district when I brought it to their attention 2 years ago. It wasn't until I took it to the media that they started listening. There are pilot programs. Board members are saying there were not pilot programs. I have an upper level administrator on camera talking about the grading pilot programs. The board voted to pass a policy that allowed the superintendent to implement guidelines. I asked for those guidelines to be made public before the vote. School board chairman told me no. Those guidelines still have not been made public. I have a summary of them out on the table out there if you'd like to take a look at them, because I have seen a copy of the guidelines. And yes, they have been finished because Channel 10 News was able to get a hold of those guidelines. I do not trust that the school board is going to know what's going on in our schools regarding these grading practices because they didn't know 2 years ago.
Right, she goes first.
Oh, okay. All right. Everybody ready for this one?
I think so.
Okay. This is in regard to the new 40 ID requirement.
Okay.
And the question is about person in office and ID. It says, what protections will the school departments use now that we must show photo ID before entering a school building? What protection, what identity protection for the person showing the ID is requested? Not the school, but the person who has to submit an ID.
I still don't quite understand.
In fairness,
How long will that information be kept? Where's the stored? Who has access to it?
I'm sorry, what?
How long will that information be kept, for instance? Where will it be stored? Who has access to it, et cetera? How do we
Okay.
protect the person
We've been,
coming in?
okay, how will we protect our identity and their information? I get that. We asked the same question when we were given the information about this, and we were told that it is not stored, the information is not stored with us at all. It is, it has to be, I said, it has to be stored somewhere, it's in a computer system. So apparently it's stored with the company that we are hiring to do that, and they do that for other school systems as well, so. To Mr. Johnstone.
They say they're adding this photo ID system to protect the school from sexual predators. I didn't know we had a problem with sexual predators trying to get into the school. What you have to do is you have to take your Virginia driver's license, which has a barcode on the back, and they scan that barcode to verify that you're there. You can't use any other form of ID unless it comes from DMV with a specific barcode. I am not familiar with the program. I'd like to look into it a lot more. My question is, can the school add names to be excluded from school access to that list? Because right now, it only checks between people on the sexual predators list. If there's a two-parent family going through a divorce, can the custodial parent request that the other parent's not allowed to go to school with their kids? And then what happens when that machine starts beeping and that person's not allowed in? Normally, it's a teacher on their break or been assigned to the front desk who sits there and checks people in and out. Is that person going to be able to stop that person from coming into the school? I kind of doubt it.
I think we need to do more with our security, and that's one of my platforms, keeping students and teachers safe. I've heard a lot the other night about consistency as it were vacant. But I really want to make sure that basically that everybody is safe. Now about this issue, I don't know a whole lot about this issue as far as the voter ID. I do know that in a lot of places you have to show ID. I'm for that, but as far as it being stored, we want to make sure that we have something to maintain the identity. To keep the identity credentials of the person that is in there, protect them as well, and also protect our students as well, and teachers.
I'm happy to respond to that because I made note that I was going into Centera Princess Anne Hospital, and they did exactly the same thing. They took my driver's license, scanned it, and gave me a name tag. And I thought to myself, wouldn't that make our schools safer if we had something like that, not knowing that it was on its way? So I know that there are a lot of other facilities that use the same technology, and I believe that we can do it as a school system to keep our children safe. That's the most important thing about this whole process, is to make sure that, and that's one of my whole child initiatives, that every child has to feel safe when they're in a school. And to have this process there certainly ensures that.
I believe that we do need to have identity protection in this process. I don't know a whole lot about the process that's been implemented, but I do think that it's important to protect our identities, but I think it's even more important to protect our children, especially in our elementary schools and our special needs community. It's extremely important. I have a close family member that is a victim of sexual abuse, and it's everywhere. We have sexual predators everywhere in our communities, in all of our communities, and we need to recognize that. We also have a problem with sex trafficking in our schools, and that is something that nobody's talking about. I have a friend that is taking the lead on this, and I want to work with her and find out more information about it because I don't know a lot about it, but I do think that this is a very important topic, and I'm actually glad that the school board is addressing this issue.
I also don't really know a whole lot about the specific system. I agree with what others have said, that we have to be very careful and make sure that the system protects the identity and personal information of people who are scanning in. I'm a former associate city attorney, and in my job, I work very closely with the police department. I'm on a first-name basis with most of the police command and have a personal relationship with Chief Cervera and Deputy Chief Zuccaro and others. So as a member of the school board, I'd be in a great position to work closely with the highest level of the police department to implement programs to ensure the safety of our students, and also to make sure that the police have a presence in our schools so that kids aren't afraid of them and understand the role of the police and don't have an unwarranted suspicion and fear of them based on some of the things we've been seeing in the news.
Okay, the question is this. Is the following statement true or false, and why? Show me where school board dollars flow, and I'll show you where the school system's priorities are.
I think that's a true statement. Right now in Virginia Beach, we spend 70% of the school budget in the classroom on teachers. We spend $11,280 on every student. It's in the school system. Right now, their priorities are in the classroom. I think what's happening, though, they are changing their course. In the past, our school motto was ahead of the curve. It's now charting the course. I don't think we need to change the course. We need to get back ahead of the curve. Thank you.
We currently spend 815,114,992 on our students in Virginia Beach. 40% of state funds, 20 federal funds, 14 other funds. But not only we take a look at that, but we also need to take a look at what's being funded and how many areas are being double funded. And also take a look at how it's being how the votes go down when there is a budget issue. Who's funding the candidates that are voting for the increases. In 2012, Bill DeSteff and John Moss put out a plan that fully funded our school without having to ask for a 6% tax increase. The school board voted for that 6% tax increase. Why? We don't have a revenue problem. And everybody says for the kids, for the kids, for the kids. We understand that. But if you ran your household the same way the city council runs their budget, and I shouldn't be there either, and the school board run their budget, then you would not, you would be out of, you would be foreclosed.
I agree with what some of the things that have been said, but certainly we do want to make sure that the dollars that are being spent on programs for our children. That's my priority. It is a passion of mine, children and families, to make sure that they get what they need every day for every child. And this is the child who has special needs. This is the child who is gifted. This is the child who is a musician. This is the child who's an artist. Every single child must get what they need. And if we have to spend the money to make sure that they get it, I think that's an important priority.
I would say true. I received a phone call from someone who is an occupational therapist in our schools. Occupational therapists apparently in our schools, and I need to do some more research on this to confirm it, but they are telling me they're not being paid a competitive wage. They're being told that they're working with special needs students on the in the cafeteria on the stage or in large linen closets. They're not being provided a room to work with these special needs students in our schools. Yet we've got administrators downtown receiving 12% increases in 2 years in their salaries, but yet we can't provide a competitive salary to our occupational therapists working for our special needs students. That tells me where the priorities are.
That statement is true. Stephen made an allusion to them changing the logo and the motto, which they just did. Part of that is that teachers and administrators throughout the school system were told that they had to throw away everything they had with the old logo and motto. Anything that they had written up or produced that included the old logo and motto, they had to throw away and redo, meaning hundreds, maybe thousands of man hours were wasted in addition to all of the supplies that were thrown away and replaced at a time that every 2 years, when we're supposed to be renovating schools on a maintenance schedule, we fall further and further behind. We've got 5 schools that are failing. We've got teachers having to pay hundreds of dollars out of their own pocket for classroom supplies, and they're wasting money on things like that. It's absolutely true. If you want to know what the priorities are of this school board, look at how they're spending your money.
I would say true also. 70% of our budget goes to instruction. And instruction encompasses everything from teacher salaries to programs that we build into our instructional system. So